Hi guys, welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you are fantastically well. It's a beautiful day here in England and I thought I should do my final video for my scrappy quilt so that you can know how it actually turned out. I also made a beautiful pillow. Have a quick look at it. And usually when I do a quilt, I always make a spare block. And usually I would actually quilt this block to decide on my quilting patterns so that I know, sort of mentally where am I going with my quilting patterns. So, and then I just turn it into a cushion rather than, just having the fabric there just doing nothing. So let's get on with this video. The quilt is completed. I just shut the camera. I just threw it there and shut the camera. Anyway, so the quilt is completed. Finally, it did take some time. I'm going to take you through a little bit of quilting and showing you what I actually did, and also for the actual binding. I also showed you a little bit of a clip on how I did my binding as well. So, and then I will show you the completed look of the quilt. It is really lovely. So for those of you who are new to this channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and welcome to Crafty Quilting Designs. We were doing a stash buster for a scrappy quilt, and our scrappy quilt is a scrappy quilt on point without particular squares. So I hope you enjoy this final complete of this video, and I'll put all of them together as a playlist from 1 to 5 so that you could make this quilt whenever you come across this particular video. So let's get right into it and you can see the outcome. Take care. Okay guys, I thought I'd share some of my quilting with you and show you how I quilt my quilt. I do have a video in terms of doing free motion quilting, and I'll put a link in the description box down below. Now I use a polyester batting because I like the loft on the actual quilts. I like the fact that when the quilt is washed and it's folded, that loft is still there, and it doesn't get wrinkly. So I love that about the polyester batting. So that's what I use, and for those reasons I've always used them, and they've never disappointed me, and I quite love them. So I'm almost at the end of the quilting, and I'm just literally doing the borders now, and all I am doing is just some loop-to-loops, some really large loop-to-loops on the borders. So that's it. So I'll just share some of that with you. I've already anchored down my needle, and I'm just going to get started basically. You can obviously choose to quilt yours or take it to a long arm quilter. It's entirely down to you, but the fun of quilting it yourself is also very nice as well. So that too is good. So what I've done is just put a nice big motif flower in the corner where all of the black square is, and I'm just going to do loop-to-loops all the way around basically. I'm just making big loop-to-loops so it fills up that space. I'm just removing some pins. even with quilting, you've got to adjust. So that's what I'm doing. This quilt is really large, guys. If I didn't tell you that before, I'm telling you again. I was just checking my bobbin to see how much I have left. I don't think I'm going to make the end, but I shall persevere. I can hear it's finishing. I can hear it coming to the end. I just went along there so I can get back on that original seam line, so I can get back to my starting point here, so I can do my rows of flower in the corner there and twist the quilt up to get in position. And my bobbin is finished. I usually keep all my bobbins here so I don't have to move. I know that's being pretty lazy, but it's just so convenient and makes life really simple. And just go back on again. And find back my position. Just snip that thread. Okay, so what I'm going to do is finish this up and then I'll show you how to do the binding. Okay, so what I'm going to do is finish this up and then I'll show you how to do the binding. Okay guys, so what we're going to do next is to trim off the edges. What I'm doing now is just lining up the edge of my ruler with the edge of the actual quilt, just to make sure everything is lined up straightly, and I'm just going to cut it. So I'm moving the ruler just to make sure that I can line it up straight again, and I'm making sure I am straightening out the quilt, and I'm going to cut just like I did before, and I'm going to do this all the way around the quilt. Now that all of the edges have been trimmed off, what I'm going to do now is add the binding on. So I'm just checking to let you know, in fact, that this is a 2.5-inch width border, and I've just ironed it down and folded over. And I'm going to start with a long tail end for about 8 to 10 inches or so. So I'm not starting at the top of the binding. So I'm just laying it in the middle of the quilt. I'm anchoring it down and I'm lining it up edge to edge, and I'm going to sew. Okay, there will be a lot of adjusting for this, and it's not long sewing at every stage, so I'll have to stop and adjust, sew, stop, adjust, sew, and just take it bit by bit. It's not going to go very quickly. So I'm going to continue with this all around, sorry, and then you shall see what it looks like. Thumbs up, guys, almost near the end. So I've turned the quilt on the other side now so I can finish, and all I'm doing now is just folding it over and sewing. So I'm folding it over onto the previous stitch line, and I'm just continuing all the way over, all around the quilt. Again, sewing bit by bit until I get there. So it's over the previous stitch line. Just keep folding that binding over the previous stitch line, keeping it neat and tidy as you go along. No pulling, no tugging, just fold and stitch. Very soon we're coming up to the end, and you're gonna have to pay very careful attention to smoothing it out before we get to that corner. If you want to cut that bit off there so that the corner can be tucked in a lot more easily to get that mitered corner, that's what I usually do. So here I am is folding it off. I'm just sticking my finger into it so I can see the back of it peeked out, or flattened out I should say, and I'm smoothing it here. Just lining it up at the end. Again, fold it over that previous stitch line, and I'm holding it in place. And I'm getting something really pointy so that can help me to fold it off. So I'm just using my knitting needle here, and I'm going to fold it over to the end on the other side. So sorry my hands are in the way, guys, but you'll see once I move my hand away. So I've just folded over to make that mitered corner, and I'm using my knitting needle to hold it in place to stitch it down. So you may have to go a little bit gentle here. Just take your time and stitch it very slowly, just bit by bit, because it can slip out quite easily. So it's a little bit troublesome, but once you persevere, you will get it. I think I zoomed in a little bit too close. I'm going to come back out. Sorry about that. I'm just going to hold it down. Do your best and just try and do little bits at a time. And so take your time, because it is very tricky, because it's a small piece of fabric we're working with. So I'm just going to use my hands and fold it over, because I'm trying to demonstrate and do at the same time. So again, just hold it, little small stitches. There you go. And I'm just going to pivot and then continue. And I'm going to keep going around until I get back to my starting point. And I'm keeping it folded and I'm almost near my starting point, and I can see it there, and I'm here. Hey, thumbs up, well done me. Alright guys, so the quilt is completed. It looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, it turned out to be 64 by 78, so a very lovely large sort of throw size to the actual quilt. It did take some time quilting here because I did quilt each individual squares, sort of similar but yet different, so it did take some time to do it. I did use several different patterns as well, and I can go in so that you can actually see what I actually did. So really beautifully, it feels absolutely gorgeous, and I actually absolutely love it. It's a beautiful quilt. I hope yours will turn out exactly the same, and you will be, of course, be pleased with it. So this was a scrappy quilt on point, meaning our squares was set on point. We also did sashings in between all of the squares so that we can highlight that particular pattern. Okay, so each sashing as well had a cornerstone, again just to help frame out those particular blocks. And we also did a crumb border, which again looks really nice. Very lovely. I only did a sort of meandering loop on the borders. I didn't want to take away from it, and plus it was taken, as I said, a pretty long time, so by the time I got to the borders I was a bit tired, if I have to be honest. But it turned out really lovely. I absolutely love it. For the sashings, I did these quilting patterns here, the wishbone, just spaced apart, whereas on the border here I did it quite close together, and I love the fact that I did it close together there. But in the middle I just wanted to keep it loose. I didn't want to have a stiff quilt, because as you know, the more quilting you do, the more stiff the quilt result is. So I did not want to do that. I really wanted to be flowing. So as you can see, a lot of it's very different patterns within the blocks. Turns out really lovely. Absolutely gorgeous. So it did take some time. I will truly be honest about that. If you're going to do this, I would probably say just do an all over quilting pattern, if that's easier for you, rather than quilting individually in each of the blocks. As I said, it does take some time, you know, so if you've got the time to do it, by all means go right ahead and do it. But overall, the quilt is absolutely gorgeous. Well worth all of the effort that we put into doing this stash buster. And the borders works out very nicely. Very nicely, the borders. Very nicely. So once again, if you like this video and you're enjoying all of this stash buster, please don't forget to subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, because your support does matter. It really does matter, guys, because it really encourages and supports creators to continue to do this. So please press that bell, share that video, and let me know that you are absolutely enjoying this. So stay tuned for our next series of Stash Buster for our Jelly Roll quilts, and I shall see you soon. So happy quilting, everybody. Do enjoy. Have a safe day. Bye for now.